Hello, everyone. Thanks so much for joining me here today as we get to talk about one of my favorite subjects, comic books. My name is Jose. I love comic books. I love talking about them. I love sharing them with you. Feel free to follow me on social media if you would like. Links are in the description below. I've also posted a link to the DC fan page for this story, which has plot synopsis and character bio. So we're going to be looking at Batman 234 by Dennis O'Neil and Neal Adams. So 232, which I've already covered, was the first appearance of Ra's al Ghul, known as the Demon, or the Demon's Head. And so 233 was done by a different team altogether. And then they then go back in here. I believe Neal Adams just needs time. I think to get the level of craftsmanship that he gets in, I don't think he can do that monthly. So I believe he had to work bi-monthly. So it would be like sometimes they do two issues in a row, but then they have like two issues where they didn't, or they did one issue and then not another. So, all right. So, this splash page is very famous. This was very striking. The very first time I saw this was in a Batman book in the late 80s that DC had released. And this splash page was in there. And I remember just going, wow, just so amazing. So we're going to be going over some quite a few actually Batman stories from the 70s. So we're going to do Neal Adams and Dennis O'Neil. We're going to do, my goodness, who worked with Marshall Rogers. We're going to do some of those. We're going to do some of the ones Gene Colan did. There's some very good ones in there. So you're going to see some stories from the 70s. A lot of the stuff that, to me, I'm not a big fan of the 70s. Other than the X-Men, which I think was the only good book in the 70s. I know Daredevil, Frank Miller's Daredevil was late 70s, so I consider Daredevil's like to be the 80s. But for me, for the most part, the 70s, I don't know, that time period to me in comic books, I'm not a big fan of. But there are some good stuff. So I'm going to try to highlight the good stuff from the 70s. And a lot of the good stuff was in Batman. So there will be a lot of, on Sundays, I'm going to try to do some Batman. So I've been trying to cover Jim Starlin's run. And I'm trying to just give people a difference, or a different, I don't know, showing some different stuff that probably most people don't have. So I don't have the original issues. I don't have any of these in the original issues. I do have the Neal Adams trade paperback. DC released a three volumes that included all of Neal Adams' work on Batman. And so this is actually from volume 3. So a lot of the stuff that he did, although the art was phenomenal because it is Neal Adams, some of the writing, I did cover his very first Batman story. It was from 1969, and I just kind of went, and most of these stories are just not very good. However, when Dennis O'Neil started writing, everything took a turn and it became so good. So I decided, hey, Dennis O'Neil with Neal Adams, gold. So here we go. It is hushed here. The only sounds are the muffled murmurings of the swamp beasts and gentle laps of water against the grassy banks. And the only sight, the gaunt shape of an ancient vessel and an awesome figure of the dread Batman. Like I said, this is a very great image. But be not deceived by the serenity. There is danger in this peaceful place, mystery and the shadow of death, for here lurks half an evil. So Dennis O'Neil is the writer, and Neal Adams is inked by Dick Giordano, with Julie Schwartz is the very famous editor. So it begins at the annual Gotham City Merchants Parade, a merry procession of floats through the business district, celebrating the products and services of the mighty metropolis. This would be the equivalent of the Macy's Day Parade. None of the grinning spectators are aware that a crime is being committed before their eyes. Keep that smile in place, sister, and the mouth button. This'll be over in a wink, and you just might live through it. And you can see the dude's holding a gun. And so, there, it's cut. So he cuts the rope. Okay, let's split before somebody tumbles to what's happening. And you can see now that hot dog float is going around. Some onlookers are puzzled. Most think the balloon's disappearance into the belly of a hovering helicopter is merely part of the show. That night, a familiar shape appears on the starless night sky, a silent call for the Batman. And inside the office of Police Commissioner Gordon, a certain public servant is waving his arms and screeching just a bit. I do not understand why you feel compelled to summon that masked blackguard. Because, Mr. Reeves, Jim Gordon looks really weird, drawn by Neal Adams. We have that Jim Aparo look when you think about Gordon. So, anyway, because, Mr. Reeves, the theft of the Frankfurter-shaped helium balloon is an unusual crime, to say the least, and the unusual is the specialty of the Batman. Well, I hope he shows up. That's all. I'm tired of this meddling in city affairs. I may decide to see how tough he really is. And Arthur Reeves left, followed by a Reeves right, and you can see Batman coming in. I'll take him down a peg or two, and he just goes, boo. Keep in mind, this is the early 70s, so this is from 1971, and I do apologize. Normally I say the date. So there's still a little bit of that campiness that they're trying to outgrow. So, and to the modern, when we look at the modern Batman, this older Batman does seem out of character, but he's entering a new era. So we gotta kind of roll with the punches. Although I can see him do the boo, so perhaps it isn't so out of character. And the guy runs, and Gordon is laughing. You can even see a smile on Batman. You called me about that odd robbery this afternoon, Commissioner? Yes, it seemed to be your sort of case. Any ideas? I like this panel in the middle, like this. Very cool. A dim one, sir. So unlikely it's hardly worth mentioning. Commissioner, the alarm at the Nautical Museum is ringing. Have my car brought to the front. Come on, Batman, I'll drive you. You have your transportation and I have mine. See you there. I know they always portray Jim Gordon as hands-on, but man, oh man, commissioners are don't normally run around. That's why they have detectives, and commissioners are not out trying to solve crimes. So a few minutes later, the guards are shooting at the getaway car and not doing much good. They're dumb crooks showing themselves on the street unless they plan on being seen to divert the guards from where the real action is. Inside, yes, there's a flashlight moving in the next gallery. So, will you get it in gear? This joint gives me the creepy crawlies. Go chew your tongue. I got the junk we was sent for. Exactly what junk, funny face? Says Batman. The Batman. Don't gab, blast him. So Batman kicks the gun. Not likely. Now, keep in mind that is the mask, I believe, from the Dark Knight movie, the second one with the Joker, where he is wearing it in the beginning. So I believe that was an homage to that. So you can see. So the other one, pitching a smoke grenade. They're well equipped for common rip-off artists. He punches this guy. Although he's not selling it very well, so I've got to count the grenade tosser as a dead loss. No way of following him through the fumes. But this charmer isn't going anywhere except into a room of fresh air. So, stay back, Batman, or so help me, I'll scramble your brains. I don't want to mix with you. Just keep away. No need to get upset. You're no danger. None at all. The police will arrive shortly. If you'd care to be healthy when they take you, you'll answer my questions. Sure, anything. Who are you working for? I don't know, I swear. I don't. He's a weirdo, face hidden, all the time. And he keeps tossing some kind of coin. One more thing. What did your pal steal? A lousy book, The Diary of Captain Bye. Bye, yes, that makes it certain. Your boss is one of the strangest criminal geniuses who ever lived. One of the most tragic, one of the deadliest. So, at that moment in a shack near Gotham City docks. You got it, the diary? Yeah, only my buddy was nabbed. That's very unfortunate for him. It's no concern of mine. However, this is the important thing. This writing, a cipher expert I met in prison told me there is in these pages the coded clue to a fortune. And I have the key to the code. But will I use it? Will I actually commit the crime? That is for the coin to decide. Which face will it show? Which side? The whole or the ruined? The coin has decided. The evil part of my nature wins. And so Two-Face must strike. I believe this is also Neal Adams' first Two-Face. So in the original, this was a white background, and he just had that part. Looks amazing. So, as the bells of Gotham City toll midnight, wealthy socialite Bruce Wayne stands in the balcony of his penthouse, conferring with his butler, Alfred. A naughty problem, Master Bruce? Worse, Alfred. I suspect that our old enemy Two-Face was behind the balloon theft. He couldn't resist the slogan on the float, doubly delicious, or the name Janus, the two-faced Roman god. Are you sure, sir? Isn't Two-Face still in jail, says Alfred. He escaped several months ago. How could any jail hope to hold a man so clever and devious as Harvey? So, we get a little bit of his origin, how his face was half scarred by that acid. What a mad and diabolical chase he led, Robin and me, when his half-ruined face twisted his mind toward crime. You know, real quick, I was going to make a comment when they said he escaped. They always escape. Just remember that this trope has been used forever and ever. It was only thanks to modern methods of plastic surgery that the personality of Harvey Dent was brought back from the edge of madness. And here we see a reformed. Once again, he re-entered lawful society and spent his energies on the side of justice until one unholy day Harvey attempted to stop a robbery. All right, you two, stand where you are. So intent was he on capturing the thieves, he failed to spot the sputtering fuse they had set. It wasn't until he staggered home and looked in the mirror the full extent of his tragedy took a hold on him once more. The plastic surgery, it's all been undone. It can never be repaired this time. I'm doomed to remain Two-Face forever. So, and if you remember in the Dark Knight Returns, they fixed him, but he was scarred on the inside. So no matter what, he always saw that scar, regardless of that, which I think is quite cool. It's such a novel idea what Frank Miller did on the Dark Knight Returns. Then it's not surprising either that he stole a book by Captain Bye, which sounds like bi, the prefix meaning two. As in bisect, sir? Exactly. I'd relax if I could feel it's ended, but Two-Face won't quit unless that blasted coin tells him to. Those thefts must be leading to something. And I've got to find out what. Maybe the Marine Encyclopedia has information on Captain Bai. Alfred, I think I found it. Bai's old ship, a two-master schooner, is docked at a marina across the river. I'll bet trees to toothpicks that's where Two-Face is heading. And so is the Batman. So, I love this Batmobile. I believe in the movie The Batman. That is this. I love that. I love that car. I know that in the the Tim Burton Batmans, I know they wanted to go all out, but my God, that muscle car, nah, that's the way to do it. A sleek roadster cuts through the darkness across a mammoth bridge and hurtles onto a pier fronting one of Gotham's twin rivers. My guess was good. The old schooner's been cut loose. It's drifting into the current. And those thugs must be Two-Face's new playmates. That car ain't one of ours. Probably the heat. Give it to him. Like I said, I like this Batmobile. Just so cool. So Batman jumps out. He can't see he's firing at where he figures I am. The automatic pilot type controls the model Batmobile with our precision perfect. I've been in this situation too often to do the obvious. Number 2 is getting into the act. This calls for a subterranean attack. And so, gets him from underneath. The ship hasn't reached swift water yet, drifting slowly. I should be able to swim to it. And then all of a sudden, boom, an explosion. Bladoom. The ancient vessel lists, shudders, and sinks. And so Batman's like a little dumbfounded. Numb with astonishment, the Batman turns his mind, desperately seeking. It doesn't make sense. None. Why would Two-Face go to all that trouble, stage the theft of a ship, and then sink his prize? Got to concentrate, consider all the factors of the case, and come up with an answer. Man, Neal Adams. Great. Oh, goodness gracious. The facts are in, and there is a solution. You have deduced Two-Face's intention. Meet now Billy the Tramp, having an early morning nap in a Blackwater South Bay of Gotham. He's had a hard night. Billy has, but not nearly as hard as his morning will be, for the top mast of a ship pokes above the bay near his head. And nearby, the Batman lurks. Right on time, the tide chart showed that if a floating object were sunk near that pier where I cooled Two-Face's henchmen, but not entirely sunk, it would drift here. Two-Face hasn't arrived yet. I'll be waiting for him when he does. And on his way to jail, I'll explain that I deduced why he needed a big balloon to put in the hold of this tub rigged to inflate after a pivotal interval, to raise it in a quiet cove where he can work undisturbed. So, but you can see Two-Face coming there. Who's that deuce? Who the deuce is that in the riggings? Looks like a hobo. How in the name of all that's holy did he get there? And Two-Face hits Batman from behind. I'll haul him down. I don't want any distractions when the fireworks begin. And suddenly, Quickly, the wet-suited criminal produces a length of wire rope and begins lashing the capacitor to the mast. I was sure the Batman would take a hand, so I hid in the ship's hold, breathing with an oxygen mask. Groggy, not out of it. Got to expand my muscles, preventing from tying the line tightly. Don't pretend you're not awake, old fool. I want you to see how you'll die. Ugly. You'll die ugly, as the accident that made me a freak. I'll put a hot ember to this balloon which held this scow afloat once and for the second time, and while the gas escapes, I smash away this molding. Behold, a fortune in gold comes spilling, gold doublons, just as Captain Bai's diary promised. Within... Oh. So here he fills out the sack. Within moments, the scow will have sunk, taking a Batman with it. Not only me, look, up in the rigging. Are you going to let him drown an innocent man? His misfortune, Batman, and no concern of mine. You've always prided yourself on being as good as you are evil. Where's your pride in mere pose? Quiet, Batman. My decision is final. Once more, Captain Bai's schooner settles water, creeping rapidly its hull. Two-Face tries to ignore it, but he can't. Reluctantly, he removes the double-headed coin from his pouch, flips it, and... So, he's got to turn back. Batman, you're free. I might have known. It wasn't difficult. I expanded my muscles when you were roping me. By contracting them, I got enough slack to slip out of the knots. Do you want to surrender? I love how tidy these things are. Never. The coin dictated I save the old man. You remain my enemy. And Batman just punches him and takes both the people. And thus it ends, perhaps. So back then, there were two stories. So this would have been the second story would have been a Robin story, but this would actually be the entire story for Batman that Denny O'Neil and Neal Adams wrote. So there you have it, Batman 234 from 1971, written by Dennis O'Neil, penciled by Neal Adams, and the inks by Dick Giordano. By the way, I love Dick Giordano inks. Look how I love that thick line. So anyway, like and subscribe. Hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for listening. Goodbye.